former leader of opposition, the Honorable Winnie Kiza. And I think we should give her a round of applause because she was such a very powerful and still a very powerful woman of this, our generation. I thank you. Thank you so much.
That the opposition has, from the time this country went into multi-party dispensation, been giving alternative policy statements, has been giving alternative policy options to the Ugandans. Many times I feel sad when the Nabanjas and their friends begin deceiving the Ugandans that what policies do they offer? What do they have? What alternatives do they offer? So I just want to remind them today that the office of the leader of the opposition from 2006 has been giving policy options, has been giving alternative statements. And so, Lop, thank you today that again you are bringing us here to let them know that if they are not reading, it has not been our problem. But we have been having compendiums of policy options. Thank you that the Ugandans are receiving from your office and the able members of parliament who are here, who belong to the alternative government, the alternative budget. And I want to congratulate you, colleagues, for this milestone. Uganda is not a poor country like many people think, or like our leaders want us to believe. Uganda is a nation that has poor managers who manage a nation with a chaotic mentality. And because of that, they have made corruption a norm of managing our society, to the extent that corruption has been referred to as cooperation. And that is what the Honorable Chagulanyi was talking about, the president of the National Unity Platform, that corruption is kind of now a way of life in Uganda. Museveni's government has institutionalized it to that extent that when you are not corrupt, actually the system is likely to weed you out. You look alien when you are not corrupt in Museveni's government. And today, leader of the opposition, with the theme that we are running for this year, we want to tell all Ugandans that together we can fight this corruption and make Uganda a better place for all of us, where people with the taxes that they pay can see services getting closer to them. And yes, I know it can happen. The Auditor General's report of 2023-2024 alluded to the fact that over 316 billion is lost in the medical field due to corruption. And this is out of expired drugs. Can you imagine a country having expired drugs when Ugandans are dying because of lack of medical supplies in the countryside? Over 316 billion going to waste because of corruption. And we know that health nations are built by health populations. And so if you can just not even be mindful enough of a population that you lead, would you really be worthy being called a leader? And I concur with what His Excellency Chagulanyi said, that it's misrule that is bringing us the far that we have gone. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we fight the mismanagers of our nation. I know that majority of us here went through thick and thin to get to your positions. Just the recent experience of Kawempe tells you where we are going. A lot of money wasted for people to make their decision. And that even when people have made their decision, you still waste a lot of taxpayers' money, you abuse people, you assault people, you insult people, you break people's ribs, just because there is an election. What a shame for our leaders. But all this is due to corruption. You know the amount of money that was lost in Kawempe? People, instead of talking about the issues that affect the ordinary citizens, they went on abusing members of the opposition. They have no agenda. They have no agenda. If you have an agenda, why don't you give it to the people so that they can vote you? We know that Museveni's agenda is impoverishing the citizenry of Uganda and making sure that we all remain in this poverty, because it is this poverty that he uses to hold us hostage in our own countries. Can you imagine a country where levels of employment are very low, and that agriculture is the biggest employer of citizens of Uganda, but even agriculture, they still tamper with it? A report from the Ministry of Agriculture indicated that over 445 billion was wasted to corruption out of abuse and misuse of essential inputs in agriculture. And yet I thought that if there is any government that is worth being called a government, would have been so keen on ensuring that they provide water for production, they ensure that people who are involved in the agriculture subsector get the best of what they want. Because this is one of the most employers of our Ugandans, but they still swindle the money from the farmers. What a shame. Leader of opposition, thank you for giving us this opportunity today to let the country know that Uganda is not a poor country, and for Ugandans to understand that corruption has devastating effects on human capital development and social equity of our nation. So the better we fight it before all of us are consumed by this sag of corruption. Ladies and gentlemen, I would not want to take you far because you all know what is happening. Much of the money that is wasted is our money. It's money that you and I pay in form of taxes. When they are wasting it, they don't want to let you know that it's your money. When I was still here as member of parliament, actually towards the end of our term, Uganda gave a contract to a company which was going to do roads in Congo. I kept asking myself, how do we begin doing roads in Congo when our own roads are still very poor? It's like giving food to the neighbors when your own children are sleeping hungry. And I kept asking myself, yes, it could be that we are getting businesses from Congo. Yes, it could be that possibly we are chasing security. But doesn't it also concern us that these roads are some form of insecurity to our own countrymen and women? Some of the roads that we are supposed to be worked on, I saw a clip of tourists sleeping in the middle of my road, the one taking me to my home from Chikorongo to Bwera. Tourists are taking photos in the ditches. Ugandan roads are becoming tourist attraction sites because of the way they look. Not that they look well, not that really everybody is admiring them, but because of the pitholes that we have. The potholes that we have are making our roads tourist centers. And then you stand here and you say, I'm a leader of a country, I've made your country look great, You've managed us for 40 years, and in 40 years, we still have dilapidated roads. We still have roads that can be used as graves. What a shame. And all this is due to corruption. So having a theme that talks about combating corruption as the only sure way to effective service delivery is a welcome idea. And I would like to equally call upon all of us here, stakeholders. Ugandans, let us make this our issue. Corruption hits all of us. I know that wherever you go, because of corruption, you are now the targets. People begin asking you, honorable, our roads, honorable, our roads. And yet you and I contribute to a central pool where we think that our managers, the managers of this nation, the so-called leaders at the higher level who control taxes, are supposed to answer to some of these concerns. But now it is you who is being asked why the roads are not made. And yet for you, you have done your duty. Continue shouting, continue making noise, continue bringing these issues out. But I know, just like His Excellency, the President of the National Unity Platform said, the only way of ensuring that these ills are done away with in our society is by changing leadership. Because everything else rests upon leadership. We may speak and speak until we change the leadership of this nation. There is nothing much we can do. The only thing is to work harder and ensure that we change leadership of the nation. We get there and give better service, quality service to the population of Uganda. And I think that's why we are here today to say that even when they don't believe us, we can do it. And we have shown them that for us, we are ready to fight and make Uganda a better place for everyone. Ugandans, you better begin thinking. It is you and me that suffer the corruption of President Museveni. It is still you and me that can get Museveni out of his office. It is your office that he has mismanaged. So let us work hard and we change leadership and the governance of this country so that Ugandans can enjoy their taxes and live in a country worth being called the Pearl of Africa. I thank you.
For today, and then I'll give you the next program after that. I thank you so much. Honorable members and colleagues, there is a cup of tea. If you want to use some, refreshment, please have a cup of tea. Thank you. You're welcome.
In this country, and I take this opportunity with delight, humility, and honor to make a statement on this memorable day of the presentation of the alternative budget for the financial year 2025-2026. Personally, I was in Paris, where global leaders met, and on one thing, combating malnutrition. About $27 billion were committed to be invested in fighting malnutrition. While I was there, colleagues of mine from civil society were here in Parliament having discussions over issues that we hold pertinent, that we think should form priorities if we are to better the lives of the people of Uganda using the most critical policy tool in the country, which is the national budget, a tool that determines the haves and the have-nots, a tool that directs where investments should be made and where results should be realized. Right, Honorable Leader of Opposition, we are delighted that we're invited as civil society to share our views, and we feel it is our civic and moral duty to seize every moment and see that the voices of the people are heard. I'm quite knowledgeable on a number of things that you have alluded to in your presentation, but I'm only an expert in one area, that is agriculture and food security, and of course malnutrition. Right, Honorable Leader of Opposition, Honorable Leaders here, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of which we are discussing today is combating corruption. And we are dealing with this theme focusing on the budget tool. Corruption does not happen at the exit end. It actually starts at the beginning, and this is at planning. Where we choose to put our money determines how we are going to use our money and defines who is going to benefit from the plans where we have decided to allocate our resources. You are at liberty to plan and allocate resources where they can easily be taken, or you also are at liberty to allocate resources where you're going to include almost everybody in the society. I wish to draw your attention, honorable leaders, to only one single program in the National Development Plan, because as a country we took a program approach, and this is the approach we focus on allocating our resources. The agro-industrialization program, what a wonderful concept. If you're not in production, then you are at the higher levels of this particular program, up to the levels of industrialization. The ministerial policy statements revealed to us that we are very candid and we are instead reducing the budget allocation to this particular program. Honorables, before we went into the program approach and we are budgeting according to sectors, the sector of agriculture had hit $1 trillion. And now we are talking about a program that brings together several other ministries, departments, and agencies, and it is dropping from 1.6 to now 1.3. And this is the sector that actually every person can engage in. It is a sector not only to feed us, it is a sector to feed our industries, it is a sector to feed our exports, it is a sector for peace and security, tranquility and stability, because a hungry man, perhaps a woman also, is an hungry one. We have decided in the next financial year to instead reduce the allocation. Every single reduction taken in a program or a sector that involves many people is a decision of exclusion. It is a decision of leaving others behind, and I also do believe it is a form of corruption. I will not leave this stage without appreciating that when we got in here, the first thing after being shown where to sit, I was invited to a table to enjoy a breakfast. In my own organization, we believe in food first and everything later. Honorable members in this house, I speak to you this morning with a heavy heart that in a country of plenty, we are staying in our neighborhoods, in our societies, in our families, with close to 50% of the population that never had a meal yesterday, despite it being Eid Day. Our state of food insecurity as Uganda, by the Global Hunger Index, is characterized as serious. What a form of corruption. Corruption is not about theft of resources, but also neglect of the basic to humanity. So if 50% of the population are seriously under food insecure in a country of plenty, then it is nothing but immoral. We shall be held accountable by close to 50% of the children in Kigezi and in Karamoja that shall never live to their full potential because government statistics are telling us they are stunted. The description and definition of stunting is no longer short by age because some people are just genetically not advantaged like me. But when we are talking about stunting, we are talking about stuntedness of the brains. And these children are subject of disease. These children do not perform in school well. These children shall never innovate, shall never live to their full potential. Many of the things that Honorable Senyon you've been talking about may be, and I believe surely, we have government statistics that indicated to us that 54% of all adults in Uganda suffered stunting while they are young. And I'm happy they are not in this room. But for every 10, 6 suffered stunting. How much are you expecting from such a population? Therefore, with a food insecure society, with an agro-industrialization program, which is the hope to engage people to deliver livelihood, only being supported by a tune of 24% by government resources and the rest by externals, whereas one coughs and everybody catches a cold, people define the terms under which we should use their money, and for our own money, we are only giving agro-industrialization 24%. Then how much are we expecting? Without food security being characterized as serious, with 26% of the children national average living not to their full potential, with 60% of our children today in school, and even the whole week and the whole term, shall never have a meal in school. What kind of society are we presiding over? It is my humble prayer that if only we could put our resources to create an environment for every people to thrive, to do something, and they deliver livelihood, and they have a decent meal, and they live to their full potential, then the rest shall fall in position. Because I believe hunger and malnutrition in a country of plenty like Uganda is immoral. But ending hunger and malnutrition during our time, it is possible, and yes, we can. I submit.
Thank you so much, Ms. Agnes Chirabo, for very well representing the CSOs. And honorable members, colleagues, and our guests around today, that marks the end of our presentations today. We said we're going to have a short and brief presentation of our alternative budget priorities for the financial year 2025-2026, and that's it. Allow me now inform you that we are going to have the party presidents around launch the alternative budget booklet, and after we shall have a picture of them, and then a picture of the shadow cabinet and all the members of parliament present, and we call it a day. Thank you so much. So I'm going to invite the